will go green right at 7 o'clock. They pick up everything. So if you're talking or muttering or saying anything on the sidelines while the board meeting is going, it could be picked up and it could be live to our patrons on YouTube land.
We're live now.
Still show 1 minute. I'm gonna wait. All right, I do show 7 o'clock now, so we'll call to order our regularly scheduled Sand Springs Board of Education meeting for July. I'd like to have a roll call, please.
Mullins.
Here.
Noggle.
Here.
Wagers. Aye. Here. And
She votes yes on. I'm here also, and I vote yes as well.
Goes aye, that's my name.
And so.
Yeah.
She was gonna say, I am here. That's what she said. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance appropriately this week? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have on our agenda in front the opportunity for the public to be heard if anyone has signed in with specific topics. Okay. We will move forward into a portion we love to do here in our school board meetings, and that is to recognize people, sometimes students and teachers or even community members who have made significant contributions or achievements. And so we have a Sandike Pace Setter Award. We had 2 on the agenda. One of them only will be given tonight as one I was unable to make it. So Mike, take us away, sir.
Appreciate that. I really enjoy this, and especially when we have superstars. And when we have superstars that work for us, that makes it special. We have superstars that work for us administrative role. It's special. So Jennifer Cummings, please come and join me. And Sherry, I'm going to ask you to join us too. Sherry wrote the nomination, but let me tell you what Jennifer does. I'm not going to read this because I'm going to let Sherry read it to tell more about it. But Jennifer takes care of our transportation department. And she's been with us 3 years?
no, just a year and a half.
Year and a half, just a year and a half, but I'm sure it seems like longer than that. But what I love about what she does and the contribution that she makes is her people are the first school employee that our kids see every day. And they're the last school employee that our kids see every day. And the kids come back the next day. And so that tells me that they have connected with the kids. They get them there on school on time. They work. It's just a great time. And getting an employee of any kind right now is tough. Getting a school bus driver is tough. Keeping buses on the road is tough. When you pay $6 a gallon for diesel, the budget is tough. Jennifer just does that. She just takes care of it. We appreciate that. So Sherry might want to say more and some of the things that she's done this year.
So here, Jennifer has, I think you onboarded March of last year, so it's been just over a year. It seems like she's been part of our family forever. I'm not kidding. She's been amazing. It's the little things that you find out about people as you work with them. She does a fantastic job running the department, which is, by the way, a tough department to run. And she's got a heart of gold. And we had a conversation about helping an employee this weekend because she set personal touch. But alongside that, it really is about juggling. And transportation is tough, but the woman just finished a bachelor's degree in business administration with specificity in analytics, which I don't get that. So that's a lot of data. It's a lot of crunching of data and understanding like how to use the data to improve programs, which is fantastic. And she did it all alongside attending to her family and attending to our needs as a district and doing a great job. And she's going to continue and finish her MBA. So she's continuing her education. So I am always proud of people that choose to not only do an incredible job here, but then to take it a step further and improve themselves personally. So it's artwork and she's amazing at it.
So what we're giving her tonight is the Sandike Pacer Award. It just says this certificate is awarded to Jennifer Cummings for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large. It says think beyond in what Ms. Durkee just described. Jennifer thinks beyond a lot. And we appreciate that. We really appreciate what you do. Let's get a picture from the team.
1, 2, 3. That's too many. Congratulations.
Very good.
Well, I have short testimonial too, because being homeless liaison, if we have a kid that is homeless and needs transportation, whatever that looks like, she's Johnny on the spot. They do not miss an opportunity. And sometimes, like if the other district drags their feet and meeting us halfway, she's like, we'll just go and get him until we figure it out. We got him. We'll just get him there and get him back, and then we'll figure the rest out. So
I'm both too. She won't say a word, but super hungry.
We will push our other recognition to another meeting.
Yep.
Another time. So we'll move to item number 5 on our agenda, which is discussion of our areas in our improvement plan goal of student empowerment and staff empowerment.
So we are hiring a bunch of people.
Move anything up.
We are, let's get to item 6.
You're gonna see a long list of employees that we're onboarding tonight. Beth and I were talking today about how many there are, because I meet with them as a group, and I start those meetings tomorrow. Truthfully, 25 to 30 is not that atypical in a year. I think it is not typical to do it all in 1 month, and Kristen Arnold needs to be commended because she's worked her tail end off trying to get people onboarded. Our strategy, as you know, for the stipend is for people to let us know prior to April 30th if they're not coming back, which I think has proven to be a great strategy for us, which gives us a head start on trying to onboard people that we know we're going to need. So I'm always proud of the fact that we are able to find people. As I wrote my notes, and this may be different because I know Kristen was working pretty hard today as well, but we had only 3 certified teaching positions and 2 speech pathologists open as of now, which is very commendable, and have no doubt that we'll have those filled before school starts. So hooray for us. I think partly we try to create an organization that's conducive to people liking to be here. We take care of people, so I'm proud of that. Still assessing our need for elementary teachers at the virtual academy. Jay's here, so there you are. We had 13 continuing as of when school was out at the end of the year. So I don't know where we're going to be. We're holding until we know exactly what that strategy is. I think you'll see a posting go up internally for what we're calling ambassadors. And those are those folks that are willing to take on a virtual caseload alongside their classroom. We've been doing training all year long to prepare people for that. So we'll see. Of course, as I said, over the next month and a half, that's subject to change. Transfers, I think it's worthy to note how many transfers our district takes each year. So we have currently 752 students that were on transfer during 21-22. And every single one of those had to fill out the official paperwork for a transfer into our district because of the new law. Of those 752, 225 of these, again, this is a few days ago, still needed to complete the paperwork, not because they're not coming, but just because people sometimes procrastinate, including myself occasionally. And so look for those to also complete the paperwork as well. To date, and this again was a couple of days ago, we have accepted 159 new transfers based on the new transfer law for the 22-23 school year, with an additional 75 on the list for principals to review. So trending as we're trending now, we feel like we'll be close to 1,000 transfers before school starts of students that are not residents. Now, I will say that does include our Anderson and Keystone kids. So they would be part of our district anyway. But the way the new law is written, every single person, even if you've been on a transfer, has to reapply. So,
And Mr. Durkee, I will add, that could be part of the reason of those 225, because I have to communicate pretty specifically with our Keystone and Anderson people about why they need to do an application again, because they don't have a 9th through 12th grade program in their district. So that could be a big part of that number.
but it's not atypical for people not to pre-enroll until literally August or the last minute. So that's not atypical, even under the old portal that we replaced. So summer programming continues to be underway. Math camp started in July, serving students grades 1 through 9. We are serving well over 200 kids in math camp in 2 sites, Sean.
Yeah.
Was
Northwoods and the 6th grade.
Grade Center, right. We finished 21st Century Summer Programming last Wednesday. Again, kudos to Jamie Conrad and Claudia Smith. I think I said in the last board meeting, or maybe it wasn't. Boy, I've been gone. So, but we had a review from the State Department of Ed for our 21st Century program, and they were very complimentary. In fact, asked for Jamie to complete some training for other districts in the state that need some help with that grant. And potentially she'll be doing some national training. So I'm pretty excited for Jamie. She's done amazing. And then there is, I want to mention item 42, which is our policy reads tonight. There's a change to policy FE that'll be first read and approval, hopefully, because the law changed in the spring legislative session that allowed full-time virtual transfers to come, as well as all staff, not just teachers, to come. So we want to get that approved so that we can accept those transfer requests as they come in. So.
Well, I said, again, thank you, Chris Arnold and team and everyone for keeping us staffed and getting us staffed. And I think that it's obvious that the people want to be in our district and want to stay in our district, and we're grateful for that. You guys do a great job with that. I failed to do this after our recognitions. Normally, we would all just kind of announce to our guests who have come for those things. If you want to stay, it is very riveting and incredible. But if you'd like to go home and watch it on YouTube with the other thousands of viewers, you're also welcome to do that, and you're not looked down upon for leaving. But again, you're welcome. 1,000. Yeah, we're thousands. So so we're going to move to item number 6. But before we jump into that one, it's dealing with our resource innovation, which includes our facilities and such. We're going to pull out item number 30, which has to do with a specific contract. It's in the consent agenda. If there's no objection to pulling that out, because we have a guest here from KKT who is going to speak to that and be available, and we wanted to allow him also to go home and watch on YouTube for the comfort of his home. So, you want to speak to item 30?
I do. I have sent you, different options for the last several months. And I have to tell you, I'm one of those people that likes to hang on to sameness. And Jeannie Kavach has long served our district for over 20 years as our district architect. And so any project I could get her to continue. She's been wanting to retire for some time, but as you know, she's had a life-changing event in her family, and it became really clear that it was time for her to go ahead and finish up the current project that she's working on, which is our admin remodel, and then, taking care of family as she should. So it really didn't take a long time for me to decide. KKT was our partner. We've used them for several projects, starting with, I believe, Northwoods, Garfield remodel, the Freshman Academy, Angus Gym, and they're phenomenal. And I think my comfort level in working with folks that I know and can trust and depend on to be really honest about what they see versus my uneducated eyes about building and such, KKT was the obvious choice. So I would defer to Barry. What we've agreed on is kind of a service contract with some sliding scales depending on what resource of theirs that we use. And really, the first kind of rodeo is our Boyd bathroom remodel, and Josh from LD Kearns is here as well, so you might want to consider moving that item up too, Mr. Gunn. But just helping us picture and plan for bond and small construction pieces that we have ongoing in our district all the time. So Barry, I don't know if you'd add to that intro.
We feel the same way. I mean, we love working for the district. We've enjoyed working with Sherry. There's been a lot of late night texts and calls on even advice before this all took place. Hey, do we want to do this on the projects that we worked on? We love working with you guys, and we're very excited to continue on with this contract. be part of your team, so.
Questions for Barry?
Mr. Chairman, I'd love to make a motion to approve item number 30 to agree to a master service agreement between Santa Cruz Schools and KKT Architects.
I'll second that motion. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Take a vote.
Mullins,
Aye.
Novel.
Aye.
Major.
Aye.
Wagner. Aye. Again.
And then what item number was?
So John looks like.
Great, thank you for coming. Thank you for the work that's out already and
Love working with you.
look forward to continuing to
Look forward to more stuff.
He's got dinner planned with the daughter and boyfriend, I think. So
Go enjoy that.
be here for just a minute.
Yeah, yes.
So item 47 is the bid packet for contract to the lowest bidder. Awarding that contract to LB Burns, again, established partner. We did a pretty thorough walkthrough in the spring semester at Clyde Boyd Middle School and just know that when we start talking about bond projects for next time, that needs to be the focus of our work. It's a mess and these guys were really patient with me walking through and trying to develop a plan to just get the facilities in terms of the bathrooms in a place where I feel like they're at least presentable. I know that sounds great or terrible, but the truth is these guys do a really good job. So they'll not only be presentable, but we're kind of going through phasing in color schemes that make sense, much like we did the freshman academy. And as a team, they've been great. So we're asking for approval for work beginning pretty soon, as soon as we approve, actually.
What are some of the new features we have in these bathrooms?
Oh, they flush. I'm joking. I'm not teasing. Don't lick me.
Durable materials.
Durable materials, absolutely. And then just materials on the walls that are cleanable. Yeah.
That was a long overdue for that.
Long overdue, absolutely.
So any questions on that? If not, we'd entertain a motion for
Everything fire.
Yeah. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item number 47 to accept the bids from LD Kearns for the bathrooms at Clyde Boyd Middle School.
I will second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll take a vote, please.
Mullins.
Aye.
Novel.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Again.
Guys, thanks again for being here. You can pull up YouTube on your phone. Go home.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Bye, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
So we will go ahead into the other items in item number 6.
So we got to attach 2 newsletters from Vernon Florence. He's retiring completely. I know it makes me so sad. He has been a solid, dependable resource for everything from school finance to state revenue predictions, all of that. And so I'm really sad. He has transitioned that newsletter over to COSA. I have no doubt they're going to do an equally good job with that whole newsletter. I mean, they're great. Pam Deere was a CFO, but I'm having some just, withdrawal symptoms from Vernon. He's just amazing. So what you're seeing on the board agenda tonight are his last 2. One's the farewell newsletter, which makes me really sad. But just continuation of what we've seen with state finance. We're seeing inflation and the effect thereof increasing the amount of revenue the state's taken in. It will not last forever. We know this. And so again, prudence is the key. We think we're going to have an increase, looking increase maybe in our carryover. It's hard to ferret out the effect of the stimulus money actually to get to the bottom line because we have some encumbrances, as you know, more school buses and construction and HVAC that are still hanging out there that make it a little bit tough to kind of swim through that, but financially we're doing really great. And so, again, I can't say enough about Christy Newby. She's sending me emails tonight about the audit that's going to happen next week. So, nonetheless, he gets to go and you're going to see COSA's rendition of that newsletter taking over. And again, Daryl Glover and Pam Deering are amazing. They're both ex-CFOs, so they're fabulous, but just going to miss my Mr. Florence. Moving on, I'm sure we're aware of the city's GeoBond project on election night last week. It passed. There were some questions about, we don't think the school should be forking money over for the city project. So there was a little bit of, it was interesting how that perception was out there because this is unique and different. City doesn't usually run a bond to help the school out, it was the flip side of that. So Mike had to do, Carter had to do a little bit of clarification for the board election, but, for the bond election. But what that means is they're contributing $1 million to a project for the plaza, which I think is a great partnership with the city. The remodel, the virtual floor still has punch items, but is getting complete as we speak. So there were a couple of changes that I got a little bit picky about. So Barry is right when he says sometimes I text at night. That is true. But I mean, it's also part of that partnership that I can rely on to make sure that they're doing things they need to do. Three floor building, they are completely under demolition model. So you can see the big trash things coming out. It's crazy. They are structuring walls now. So you're starting to see the development of where offices will be. So it's a cool project and it's coming along nicely. Just of note with the elections, which, affects us specifically, state superintendent race is going to run off in August. So I just remind you to, again, do your homework, make sure you're understanding really. We're hopeful that candidates win that are fully invested in public education, making sure that we are able to provide the services we need for our students. And then I wanted to note item number 43, Mrs. Pearson is asking for an increase of 5 cents for meals across the board in an attempt to keep up with rising inflation and cost for providing meals to our district. I think that's the last thing she likes to do in terms of raising meal prices, but again, you also have to be able to have a solid program. So I think unless there's questions, that would conclude the finance and facilities update.
All right, questions? Item number 7, empowering families and communities.
So we are in the middle of training on our new student information system, concentrating a lot of that in July and August. After the rollout of the enrollment portal, I will tell you, Carrie may not have been nervous, but I was a little bit nervous about going to a new system with parents, and it has gone beautifully.
I don't have a poker face, so I was nervous.
I was super nervous about that, but as promised, I mean, it delivered as they said it would. So I am confident that the portal for parents will be equally as inviting and understandable for people trying to check on grades and behavior and all of those things that they use our student information for. So as soon as we get a good handle on how that works, we'll be definitely going out and sharing that with our families. We are reopening dialogue in August in person. So just know that at 5:30, be sending out information to the public about things. Basically, my subject's going to be get ready for the new year, things you need to know. I hope it's better attended than it has been in the past. Frankly, if there's big projects, people will come, like when we had the bond election back in 19, we were able to get folks to come, but really think it's important to see people in person. And so not that we won't be utilizing our YouTube channel as well, but I really want to spend some time face to face with folks in our community as needed. So that's starting back up in August.
If you feed them, they will come.
I know. They tell you not to use funds to feed the people, but think about that. And then just so you know, I'm scheduled to speak at the Chamber Forum in August. That's usually my month. I love that because usually it's well attended and it gives me an opportunity for what we're doing, the new stuff, what you need to know, and all of that. So prepping for that as well. What's
The employees come as well.
let's say that again?
Are the new employees, do they show up at that?
Oh, the Chamber Forum? No, it's business. It's members of the Sand Springs Chamber. Let me look. I believe it's the first Monday in August. Oh, the first Monday is when they, at noon. It would be August the 1st. August the 1st. So anyway, that's a fun time. People are really interested, and as you know, our community supports our schools in a large way, and so people show up because they're interested. They want to know. So we'd love to have you there.
Moving to item number 8, health and safety.
So I attached governor's executive order for you to see. Want to make sure you were aware of that was signed remember when it was signed, but it went into effect immediately. And basically, ordering us to utilize the Rave Panic button. That's paid for by the state. It won't cost districts anything. And essentially, it's an app. We have trialed it before and then had another app prior to that called Crisis Go. It's a panic button for teachers in the case of an emergency. I think it's a great idea. I do know in some of our school sites, namely Northwood, sometimes signals aren't that great. And so it's a little tricky to use. That's what we found before, but we will be implementing that because of the governor's order beginning this next school year. The great news is it's offered for free, so that's good. We'll still have Stop It, by the way. So Stop It's that app whereby parents and students can report bullying or anything that they find to be atypical, and people do use that. We've promoted that for the last, I don't even know, 5 years, maybe. It's provided by OSIG, our school insurance group. And we get a lot of traction at our school sites, particularly secondary with Stop It. So that'll continue to be something we have in place. The other thing, I'm sure you read, is part of that executive order is OSSI will be available to provide safety training, absolutely training, which we've done before, but also just a look around, to look at our sites. Thank you for the work, to see what we need to do better, and we'll offer for free just some recommendations of what we can do. So we'll be doing that as well. So just wanted you to see that. You probably already had seen it, but good to know that there's some resources out there for us to utilize that we're not having to use a budget for. So that's good.
Is there on the Stop It app, is there any kind of like data from that to see how many
There
times it's been used, without giving specifics, but what's been avoided, what are the celebration points?
Yes, your answer is it. Yeah, I don't have it, but we could certainly have JJ pull up. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, with the Rave app, the panic button app, that will be a text message that's delivered to people whose phones are registered. Is that correct? And
It's just an app that teachers actually download on their phone, so that if you have, and then it's reported to, there's groups. I believe, we think that we're gonna have to upload site plans, like floor plans and such as well. So I don't know. I don't have all this specifics. JJ's on it, but I believe it'll be connected to emergency services. So like our police and fire as well. My worry, which is why I think we need to have other strategies in place so that we all are aware of things going on at the sites, which we have that structure in place already, is the lack of, sometimes internet's pretty spotty at Northwoods. Or if you're at Charles Page High School with the block walls, you're great in the freshman academy, but sometimes that doesn't work super great at Clyde Boyd or Charles Page High School because of the center block walls. So just, it's a tool, but it's not the only tool that I want to rely on. So we'll continue to incorporate, our calling system, GroupMe, Stop, all of those things that we have in place already. This would just be in addition to.
I was just gonna say, when we used the Crisis Go before, and that I think was something that it was written into a grant. If you remember, Superintendent Durkee, that the city had written that we took on. I think it was for 3 years or whatever. And we managed it pretty well. We had like practice periods, but one of the problems too that was really bothersome for teachers was it used up a lot of space on their phone because of the app, because it was constantly have updates or whatever, because as we had employees that were leaving or employees that were coming, it would stop. So you'd be ready to do something and then you pull up the app and then it's kind of loading. So we don't have all the information what this one's going to look like. I kind of looked at it and I think it's a lot of the same thing. So I don't know how much they really vetted through it, but we kind of found that in order to just have that quick response and not have to worry about the sender block and all that kind of stuff, we went back to the process that we were using before. But I know that was a huge problem because teachers would email me all the time, like, I took it off my phone, like, and every time we pull it up, it would it would, it would take forever to open because it had updates, because you're constantly changing information that was in.
The other thing that I think is going to be critical for us is the establishment of using the code system with our current phone lines. Remember, we talked about that last month, in that now anybody in the district can do an all call from any phone in the site regardless. So you don't have to worry about, technology is technology. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, it's not great. And so making sure we have multiple parameters so that we're communicating well. That's a big component of any kind of emergency event that could happen. Communication is really the key to making sure that you're mitigating as quick as you can. So to me, the phone system is probably a technique that is really going to be effective, but we don't want just one technique, we want multiple. So
Any other questions or discussion from item number 8? Now we're going to move to the consent agenda.
okay, on tonight, but I would bring your attention to item number 23. That was, it's not typical, but essentially what happened is we missed paying in teacher retirement for one of our employees that opted in, and this particular person happened to be a support employee. So mistakes happen, but we want to make it right. And so we're paying the cost of that person's retirement benefit for the current year. And it was 9 months. I think we caught it in May, maybe. So June, July, and August checks were normal deduction like everyone else gets, but we took the initiative to go ahead and pay that person's retirement. So just wanted, but you need to approve that. That would be an approval. Item number 24, I don't think is new, but I wanted to bring it to your email. The SafeDoc software license for student emails, cybersecurity of student emails, recommended by, of course, Ms. Moses. The number 29, approval of the capacity report. This is not typically done in July, usually do this in June, but again, we got to add virtual to that piece because of the new transfer law. So that's on there again. And then 37 isn't really new, but I do want to mention it. We had lease agreement with Hand Springs Community Services for next year. And the reason is because we added an additional space. Because we have been able to expand into the manual arts and a section of that building, it left a room open. They were very anxious to lease from us. So we upped our rent just a little bit. And they're going to expand into what was originally the library part. It's the south end of the building. So giving them a little bit more. I think that's it, unless you have questions.
Yeah, any questions on any item in the consent agenda? If not, we would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for vote, please.
Mullins, Novel,
Aye.
Ledger.
Aye.
Aye. And
Aye. Moving into action items, number 38 would be a proposed executive session to discuss employment recommendations. Anybody would like to make a motion for that? If not, we move to item number 39, and that is the proposed approval of the aforementioned employment recommendations.
I'll make a motion to accept item 39 as stated.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Not, and we will call for the vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Novel,
Right,
Ledgers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. And
Aye.
we need to lock the door before the meeting starts.
Item number 40 is a proposed approval to convene into an executive session. Consider the appeal of denied student transfer with review of confidential educational records, transfer requests of students whereby disclosure of any additional information could potentially violate our FERPA regulations. And so this has been recommended by the Director of Enrollment. Just to give some clarity on that, if we were to go into such executive session, our role in that as a school board is simply to discuss whether or not the policy we have on the books was followed in these decisions. So we don't decide the decision per se. It's just, did we follow the policy when our staff made those decisions? So we would entertain the motion to convene into that executive session. If anyone would make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to move into that executive session. We'll call for a vote, please.
Muller,
Aye.
Novel,
Aye.
Winters. Aye. Minor, Ken.
We
That's over.
shall return.
Because
A lot of business.
You thought, oh, I just can't finish that. Look. So it's a surprise.
We're green.
So we are now back into open session and the time is 7:46, I believe. And we, in executive session, we just discussed the student transfer appeals. We had no votes taken there. With that appeal, we come to item number 40 and, I'm sorry, 41, which is going to be our vote to accept or overturn the decision of the superintendent to deny the transfers in question, which have been appealed for students A, B, C, and D. We leave those names out for confidentiality sake. So I would entertain the motion to, I'll make the motion that we would accept the decision of the superintendent on all 4 students to deny the transfer request. And
Second.
as before we move into a vote, I'll just share, in this process, the burden of proof ultimately is upon the parent who's making the appeal to prove that that the policy's been violated. And so if anyone in the future we're taking that action, just to be aware and make sure you read the parameters of what that means. And though we appreciate the stories that are shared with us in those moments, it's not the story that really interests us for this decision. We're moved by those. We're appreciative of those. However, that can't influence our decision. It's a matter of the policy. And so as we have made this recommendation now, I've made the motion and we have a second to stand by the decision of our superintendent with all of the data that has been provided to us. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion from the board on that? Thank you, staff as well for going through that process to give the data to us, and parents for doing what you did to try to share with us your stories. Again, just for those in the future, have some parameters there, but we will call for a vote.
Mullins,
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Ken.
All right. Again, thank you, staff, Superintendent Durkee, your team, for helping us through that process. We are in item number 42, which is the proposed approval of some revised policies for our policy manual.
So A and B were first read last month in June, so this will be a second read on those. And then, as I mentioned before, letter C is the change in transfer policy that we're asking for board approval tonight. With those 2 changes, and that's our ability to accept full-time virtual students as well as
All staff.
all staff, not just teachers, but all staff.
There was one other piece in that one, about if a student has been a resident in Sand Springs for 3 years and then moves out of district, that we would also accept their transfer. So that was the other piece of that MB.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve those revised policies?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Ken.
Aye. Item 43, proposed approval to increase the meal pricing by 5 cents for the following school year, 2022-23, as recommended by our Director of Child Nutrition. Of course, we all know food costs and every cost is going up right now. And so certainly can see the recommendation and why that would be there. It's unfortunate, but true, just where it is. Any other information?
Information, just what I discussed earlier.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the increase in meal pricing.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
At one time, Superintendent Durkee, we were close to the carryover in child nutrition. There's a limit on that. And we were kind of getting close to it. This word probably, we have caught way up.
Caught up on that one.
Okay.
Right. In fact,
Going over that. list.
no, in fact, Mr. Morris was having discussions with Ms. Pearson last year about it needs to be able to take care of itself, to manage. So kind of a rule of thumb with child nutrition is the district doesn't want to subsidize with state aid the meal program. And so while we were very conscientious of raising prices. We're in a place where that had been, the gap was closing in regard to how much carryover that was happening. You're welcome.
What would that 5 cents estimated make up for the year? Right.
Oh, goodness. You know what? It's hard. I wouldn't even start to give an estimation because lunches and breakfast were free last year.
Right.
So I couldn't even go back and tell you pre-COVID
Got it.
how many people were eating the cafeteria, honestly. And I think it's a new day. And so how many people will come back now that they're not offering free? I don't have even a rough estimate of what that would be.
All right. So we do, go ahead.
So I'm just saying this, we teach 180 days.
Correct.
If a student ate lunch every single day for 180 days,
I know.
it was $9.
Yeah.
I mean, total for
Right,
the year. That's,
right.
we're talking about $9 a family for,
Right. One student per student. Yeah, that's correct.
18 is the breakfast too.
Correct.
In my head.
You did all that.
We have a motion and a second. I would call for a vote.
Mullen. Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers. Wagner. Gunn.
Certainly, I would just add to that, that if that were a financial burden for a student or family in our district, we have some great partners who I know would step to the plate to assist with that. So we're grateful for that community support. Item number 44 is the board to consider and take action on a motion approving renewal and the sublease agreement between the Tulsa County Industrial Authority and Sand Springs.
Okay, as you know, Northwoods Fine Arts Academy is a revenue lease agreement based on a long-term bond, which means that until those bond dollars are paid off, that debt is paid off, we technically lease that site from the Tulsa County Industrial Authority. So each year the board approves the provisions of the agreement so that we can continue to do that until I believe 2024 is when that lease agreement drops off our bond indebtedness. So that's
The
it.
first one is the early childhood center, right?
No, it's Northwoods Fine Arts Academy. We have two under lease. We're almost on the clear with the Early Childhood Center. In fact, it's a weird agreement. I think we pay $1 per year for the next, it's like a 50-year agreement. So I likely will not be superintendent when that dollar goes away. But as far as meeting our bond debt, that's clean. Yeah.
We would entertain the motion to approve that renewal.
I'll make that motion.
second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullen.
Aye.
Noggle. Wagers. Wagner. Gunn.
Item 46, our proposed approval of Rosin's.
45.
Did I skip one?
We have two of them. Remember we did another revenue lease
My fault.
bond period, with our freshman academy as well. That bond debt is clean by 2027, but the same rule applies. In other words, we're technically leasing that building from the authority until that bond debt lease is gone. So that would be the same proposal.
I saw the same language.
Yeah.
Just went right past it.
Exactly.
So, and again, we would entertain that motion to approve that sublease agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve number 45. Number 45.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Mullen.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers. Wagner. Gunn.
Aye. Now, item 46, our proposed approval of Rosenstein, Fist, and Ringgold to provide legal services to our district.
So this is another one where I'm a little heartbroken because as you know, Gary Watts officially retired as of June 30th as our legal consultant, which is again, I just kind of linger and hang on to those folks that I just dearly love because they've been good partners with our district for a long time. But you dive into new territory and RFR is really the gold standard when it comes to attorney representation for schools. Our John Pretty is our go-to typically, that's where we start, but they have a team of attorneys that specialize in different things, which is great. So you have that expertise across the board, from employment to special education to contracts to basically the gamut of what you might need as a school district. So we would recommend utilizing RFR as our contract for legal services as needed.
Yeah, any, questions, or do we have a motion
I'll
to?
make a motion to approve the contract with RFR.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Could this have to be renewed every year? We'll have the same motion.
So I was talking to John about that. He said typically what happens is a board will approve an agreement the first year, and unless it changes or you decide not to utilize, they don't recommend putting that on the board agenda every year.
But I mean, there's a term. We can terminate it, they can terminate it,
Absolutely.
and we just by written.
Correct.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Mullen.
Aye.
Nozzle.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Ken.
Aye, and we've already done item number 47, so we will move to item 48, which is any matter that was not known about, that could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the posting of this meeting.
We don't have an item.
Fantastic. Do we have any announcements?
So let me tell you guys that our RAO that we've had for how many years? 5? Don Gray, you probably haven't met him, but he was our accreditation officer with the State Department of Ed. He retired with you. Everybody's retiring. I don't get it. Anyway, we have a new one that we are getting ready to make a friend with. And
I'm
meet.
as sad about that as she is about,
Truth.
I'm retired.
It is true. Oh, and I do have this, you're not retiring, don't even start. And then the other announcement I have is our ORU contract for the Maybe Center, which is some good news. Y'all be very happy about this, at least I am. Because it was the 6th of May this year, ORU couldn't make that date because of their own graduation and OSU Tulsa's graduation. Therefore, we were able to seal the deal on May the 20th, which is about 3 days before school's out. And they have guaranteed to have that weekend in perpetuity.
So our kids are going to actually graduate.
Yes, we're very excited. We're all pretty excited about it. So I have been writing from our friend at
Let's get that on the agenda, approve that.
and Stan said, act like we initiated it. The truth is they didn't be. So it's
Well,
good.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn,
Second.
and we have a second. Any discussion? Don't care. Call for a vote, please.
Mullen. Nozzle.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Ken.
Thank you all,
Thank you.
and good night.
It was really class.